Hi, this is Mr. Max with another part on algebraic fractions. Alright, I'm going to do a series of this, and today I'm looking at multiplication and division of algebraic fractions. So I'm going to go right into it. So what I have here is I have a fraction 3a squared over 15b cubed times 35bc squared over 12ac. So I go and take my numbers, my coefficient, and I say 1 or 3 goes in itself once, and 3 go into 12 4 times. That's a common factor. Another common factor is 5, which goes into 15 3 times, and 5 goes into 35 7 times. I'm trying to simplify that. Alright, so I'm also going to do the same with the variables. So the a and a squared cancel, leaving with a here, and b cubed, leaving with b squared under, and obviously c goes in itself once, and c goes there, leaving with a c. So ultimately I should have 7ac over 12b squared. Now I know they say you must multiply numerator of numerator and denominator of denominator, but this cancellation of taking out common factor is simplifying your fraction and making it a little bit easier for you to find the answer. Alright, so let's bring in another one where there is a division sign. So what you need to do is the fraction that follows the division, you are supposed to take the reciprocal of that. That means you're going to swap that. The numerator becomes the denominator and denominator becomes the numerator, and then you change the division to a multiplication. Then you are basically back to what we did in the previous question. So I will take that 3 goes in itself once, and 3 goes into 9 3 times. This 3 is a common factor. And 5 goes in itself once, and 5 goes into 10 2 times, as 5 is a common factor there. Right, then I realize I still have n that can be cancelled. And when I cancel those n, I'm going to be left with ampere cubed all over the 6 comes from 2 times 3, 6p squared q as the final answer. Alright, so I suggest you pause the video before you go to the next ones. Alright, so I'm going to do a few where I am only multiplying. So what you're left with here, if you look at this fraction here, the first one, you have got 4a squared plus 12a. You cannot divide into that because that is two terms there. There's a plus there, and the a plus 3. So the first thing is perhaps you should put brackets here, the a plus 3, because 1 is a common factor anyway. And the 4a squared plus 12a has a common factor, so when you factorize, it's 4a outside the bracket and a plus 3 inside the bracket. So everything now becomes 4a over 4a in brackets a plus 3 over 8 times 4 over a plus 3. As you can see that the a plus 3 is common, I can go ahead and I can actually cancel them out. The same applies for 4 and 8. 4 goes in itself once, and 4 goes into 8 2 times. So I'm getting 4a over 2 if I multiply numerator with numerator, and obviously the 2 goes into 4 2 times. So my final answer is 2a. So let me bring another one here. So the numerator here is x squared minus 1. Now, for you who don't know that 1 is a square number, 1 times 1 is 1. So essentially what you have here is the difference between two squares. And then you have 3x plus 6, which can be factorized by taking out a common factor of 3. And x squared plus 2x, you can take out the common factor of x. And also this one here, you just have to put them in brackets because the common factor is just 1 going to 1x, 1 x times, and 1 going to negative 1, obviously 1 time. Alright, so what you do is the difference of two squares, x squared minus 1 is becoming x squared plus 1. X minus 1 and x plus 1. Same brackets, just different signs. Doesn't matter which one you write first. And the 3 is a common factor here, leaving with x plus 2. And when you take out the x as a common factor, you have x plus 2 in the brackets. And now you can see, like factors x minus 1, you can cancel them out, as well as x plus 2. So you are left with x all over x and bracket x plus 1 over 3. No need to multiply it out. You can just leave your answer in that format. So let's do a few more. Right, so let me bring in another question here. Right, so you have got x squared plus 3x over x squared plus 5x plus 6. Now, obviously, this is a quadratic trinomial. The same applies for the quadratic trinomial here. So you need to factorize the quadratic trinomial. And I hope you still remember how to do that. So when on the top one, you take out x as a common factor. And here, two numbers multiplied give you 6 and added give you 5. So that is 2 and 3. And here, two numbers multiplied give you 2, and when you add them, give you 3. That number is 2 and 1. And under here, the common factor is 2x. And that is what you would have seen me do here. Okay, so you can do it on the side if you are struggling a bit how to factorize quadratic trinomials. Or I suggest you go onto my channel, subscribe if you haven't, and you can see that I have done quite a lot of exercises under the playlist of algebra on factorizing quadratic trinomials. Alright, so now you can actually cancel out the x and the x here, and obviously the x plus 3 they cancel out as common factors, as well as the x plus 2. So the final answer here is x plus 1 over 2 in bracket x plus 2. You can go ahead and put brackets over x plus 1, but it's 100% okay like that. So another one here, again, you have got 2x squared minus 8x. You have got two terms. That means you can take out a common factor. Here you have a quadratic trinomial, and you're supposed to factorize. So the two numbers there are negative 2 times negative 4 gives you positive 8, and negative 2 plus negative 4 gives you negative 6. And x squared minus 4 is a square of 2. So here you have the difference of two squares, and under you have x squared minus 2x as x is a common factor. And that is essentially what I expect you to get if you're trying this question. So now you have got common factors, one term over one term, and now you can actually cancel out common brackets and also common variables like the x and this x here. They cancel out, and the x minus 4 with the x minus 4 under, and then x minus 2 with that other x minus 2. So you may never cancel across like this. You have to cancel up and down or diagonally. Okay, so essentially you're going to be left with 2 in brackets x plus 2 all over x minus 2. Okay, so let's look at the questions involving division. Again, as you remember, I said you have to take the reciprocal. That means you're supposed to swap the fractions, change the division to a multiplication. And now you are exactly back to the first instance. So you have got a common factor here of b squared, and on top here you have got a difference between two squares, as 49 is the square of 7. Alright, so that gives me b minus 7 and b plus 7 for b squared minus 49. And b squared is a common factor, leaving with b minus 7 here at the denominator. So the b minus 7 can cancel out, as well as 2b goes into 4b. You'll be left with a 2 there. So eventually you have b plus 7 over 2b squared. Alright, so let's bring in a second question on division. So we have got 8 all over x minus y all squared. So I suggest that you write it down like this: x minus 1 times x minus 1, that whole quantity, and change the division to a multiplication. And then you take the inverse of the bracket, you swap the bracket around, and the denominator here, which is now the numerator, is x minus y, x plus y, as it's the difference of two squares. And 8, of course, and 12, the number that goes into 8 and 12, the number is 4 goes into 8 2 times, and 4 goes into 12 3 times. And then obviously the x minus y cancel. Alright, so you're going to be left with x2 in bracket x plus y and 3 in bracket x minus y. No need to multiply out the brackets. Let's bring in further questions here. So what you have here are also quadratic trinomials, albeit with two variables. So you'll treat it the same. Look for two numbers, multiply, give you 1, and if you add them, give you -2. And the same under here. Look for two numbers. If you multiply, give you 1. If you add them, give you +2. Well, the numbers are identical, positive here, identical negatives. Here you have the difference of two squares, and the same here. 2 times -4. You look for two numbers, multiply, give you -4, and when you add them, give you -2. So when you split the middle term, now you're going to have two variables. So first I'm going to change the division to a multiplication. And also I have done in red, I've showed you how I split the middle term. Alright, so minus AB gives you -2b, and AB plus AB gives you 2b, and so on. Well, so if I go ahead and I factorize by grouping, because I've got 4 terms, eventually I end up with a minus b all squared here in the numerator, and a plus b all squared at the denominator of the first fraction, and then times 2a plus 2b, and you can also take out the 2 here as it's a common factor, and a minus 2b and a minus b over a plus b for the difference between two squares here. So I suggest you pause the video before I continue and make sure that you record everything. Especially here, when you take out a -b, it's going to change inside that negative there. And go ahead and multiply back. -b times -b will give you a +b squared there. Alright, so I took then out the 2, and after that I can actually go ahead and I can take out common factors. So I cancel out a minus b's and a plus b. So eventually I'm left with a minus b over that, and if I multiply that out, that should give me the final answer as 2 in brackets a minus b and a minus 2b all over a plus b all squared. Or you can go ahead and write a plus b twice here, as I did in this particular case. The answer is still the same. Alright, so I have another question here. Again, two numbers multiply give you 90. That's 9 times 10. If you add them, give you -21. Alright, so you should look at 5 and 4 and 15 will definitely not work. 5 and 6, well, there are so many numbers and combination you can put. So you look for two numbers. What do you give you? It gives you 90. Alright, so obviously I get 15 and -6. They will give you -21. AB, and two numbers here give you 36, and if you add them or subtract them, give you -13. There happens to be -9 and -4. Then I change the division to a multiplication. I swap the fraction around, and under I have the difference of two squares as 9. 3 is the square of 9, and 9 is the square of 3, and 25 is the square of 5. Okay, so now I can factorize, or by grouping, where I have 4 terms, and this one here, 3 squared, a squared minus 5 squared b squared is just the difference of two squares. So it will be a 3a minus 5b in one bracket and 3a plus 5b in another bracket. So I go ahead then and I write everything outside the bracket here in its own bracket and write only the common factor once. Okay, so when I'm here, I'm pretty much close to being done. Again, I suggest you pause the video before you start canceling. Right, so if I bring that back, and if I bring in the factors that are canceling, all right, I see the 3a minus 5b goes together. They can cancel out, and 3a minus 2b, well, that leaves me with the 3a minus 2b, 2a minus 5b over 2a minus 3b, and 3a plus 5b. It looks kind of confusing, but if you do them step by step, you should definitely arrive at the same answer. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and also you can join my YouTube or my Google Classroom. Then the grade 10 code is underneath here, as well as grade 11 for the learners following the new syllabus. Remember, grade 12s, you can also benefit from joining these classes. Ask any question that you have, and don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell so that you can get notified every time when I load up a video.